I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about he completely shut off. You know, sometimes we are in a connection, in a relationship, maybe it's not just still dating and you're not official yet, but you can feel that something goes on with the other person that they just completely shut off. And when that happens, it is very painful, especially if you have attachment injuries. The more insecure you are, the more that it hurts. The more that you have anxiety and neglect in your childhood, the more that it's going to hurt you in your romantic relationships. This is why I'm always telling you guys, do the work. Do the creative healing course or the knowledge workbooks 30 minutes a day. It makes a huge difference in healing yourself and preparing to reattract somebody. I see all kinds of relationships where people struggle with their mental health or things that are going on in their life, and then they can't give the relationship 100%. And when this happens, it often sets somebody off. They lose emotional self-control and they can't handle it. They can't handle that uncertainty and the struggle that's going on because the connection wasn't as strong as it had been. So the more you work through this, the more you work on your issues, the better you're going to be. And of course, breakups are extremely confusing, and we often have to do the things that we don't want to do, or we're just having difficulty interpreting their behavior. And if you're in a situation where you're confused, just sign up for a coaching. We can help you. Either Coach Victoria or myself will be happy to help you understand these things because we navigate them every single day. Today's story, I have a couple in their mid-30s. Now, he's a veteran, and he does have a child, and they met early this year, okay? So, she says, our relationship, which was committed, supportive, and caring until the last 24 hours, lasted a little bit under 5 months. We were not living together, but I would visit him at least one weekday evening, and I spent most weekends at his place. He wouldn't come over to my place very often because I don't live by myself and because he has alternate week custody of his child. So these are some of the things we have to navigate in an adult life. Kids, responsibilities, work, obligations. I don't know who's living with her. Maybe it's a roommate, but it becomes a struggle sometimes. And a lot of times that struggle causes us to get anxious, and then what happens? We become controlling and manipulative, and this is another reason that I'm telling you guys you have to work on your attachment issues, because if you don't, anxiety really takes over our life. She says, we really had the best time when we were together, and our core values were aligned. Even his child and I got along. The main two and only issues in our relationship were the distance, we live about an hour away, and his poor boundaries with his intrusive mother. Okay, this is going to be a big problem in this situation. Okay, you're going to see how this plays out. This is why we talk about individuating and getting to a place where you are an adult. And this is one of the things Margaret really harped on over the years. Who's making their decisions? Who's making your decisions? Individuation comes from growing and healing. And that's actually a part of the creative healing course that I have, that it talks a lot about that. Helps you to individuate and find out who you are. We had already discussed the distance, and he was open to selling his house and moving halfway closer to my workplace when the time would come. Okay, so he's willing to compromise in that area, at least at this point, right? The breakup happened after I brought up the topic of his mother at the worst possible time. Okay, you're going to see a little bit what I'm talking about here with anxiety and it causing us to do things, right? Watch what happens. His father, who was also his best friend, very recently passed away after battling illness for several years. Okay, I want you to think about this. He was very close to his dad, just passed away. I can tell you firsthand that when you lose a parent, it's very difficult. And it really takes about a year to recover from that. Where, if you lose somebody that close to you, it's hard. You miss them all the time, you're sad, you think about them often, and you have a lot of days where you just don't feel like yourself. I was determined to be a supportive girlfriend, and during the following week, he grew closer to me than ever before. Sure, he felt that he had support and some comfort there during a difficult time. He must have felt safe with you. He told me he was madly in love with me, and he made jokes about getting married, which wasn't really like him. Well, I mean, you guys weren't together very long when this happened, so, talking about marriage this early would not be exactly healthy. You got to get to know each other longer, right? However, when he told me he was going to turn his basement into an apartment for his mother, I became very anxious because she is very possessive of her son. You can almost visualize this, right? Like her and the mother in like a tug of war over this guy. Guess who's going to win? Who do you think's going to win? Mommy, who just lost her husband? Or the new girlfriend who he's only been with for several months? Think about that, okay? Not only did mom lose her husband, but he was also very close to dad. Let's go on. She lives about 40 minutes away right now, and she has been displaying behavior that worried me from the beginning of our relationship. So what do you think that means? Probably unhealthy situation with him and mom, some enmeshment there with his parents, and it's not going to go well. I think mom is like the Incredible Hulk with the other end of that rope. When I first met her, she would repeatedly badmouth his ex in front of the whole family. I mean, maybe if she was really bad, you could see why, but what's going on there? She seems obsessed with her. Moreover, she FaceTimes my ex a few times a day, every day, and shows up unannounced to his place 3 or 4 times a week. All right, this is not good. He has got to set boundaries with his mother. You ever had somebody show up at your place unannounced? It's uncomfortable. It just jolts you out of like what you're doing and what's going on in your life. And this is happening almost every other day. She's FaceTiming him a few times a day, every day. This is not healthy, okay? This is not healthy at all. And it's going to completely take over this relationship. All right, let's go on. She decorated his whole house, and she's even moved the furniture around without asking whenever she feels like it. This is not okay. I mean, she's completely running this guy's life. Have you ever heard of a mother coming over to your house this often, FaceTiming this much, then coming over to your house and moving stuff around like she owns the place? Not good. It's gonna get worse. She took up his hobbies so she can spend more time with him. This is all really extreme. You gotta have somebody set limits with somebody, right? I mean, she can't be with him if he's gonna live like this with his mother. I mean, it's like the mother is his girlfriend and she's like the side chick. Very recently, she borrowed my swimsuit when I wasn't at the house, then took it to her place to wash it and hasn't returned it. I'm sorry, but that is completely inappropriate. She wore his girlfriend's bathing suit without permission. She just takes it and brings it to her place and doesn't return. This is really bizarre. This is really bizarre. And I'm sure most of the women here are cringing because it is really cringy. My ex thinks his mother can do no wrong and places her on a pedestal. So that's even worse. Everybody who's been cringing and saying this is inappropriate, this is not okay, gets it. But for this guy, he doesn't even think that his mom is in the wrong here. So if he doesn't even believe this is a problem, that's an even bigger problem. Because at least if he was saying, I know my mom could be a little bit much, I'm going to have to talk with her, then something's going to get addressed. Like this, not even going to get addressed. Needless to say, he wasn't thrilled when I told him last week I was worried about the amount of privacy we were going to be able to have once his mother moved in. Yeah, they're not getting any privacy and she doesn't live there. How bad is it going to be when she's there? They're going to have the door closed. She's going to be knocking. Oh, man. After she showed up unannounced once more to grab boxes to start packing up, he completely shut off and told me he wanted to be alone. So I left. All right, so what happens here? She tells him, I'm worried about our privacy once your mom moves in here. An adult would say, totally understandable. Let me think about it. Let me think about how I can address this. My mom's going through a difficult phase right now. It's hard. We just lost our dad. She lost her husband. But I will deal with this. You're right. Nope. He completely shuts off and says he wants to be alone. The next day, I received a text message telling me that it would be best to break up. On Friday, I went over to collect my things at his place. He told me he wasn't making a decision on the spur of the moment and that he had really thought it over. For like a whole day, he really thought it over. Suddenly, he didn't want to relocate in the future. Of course not. Mommy's moving in. Mommy's taking over. Mommy's running his life now. And he made up a bunch of other bogus reasons why our relationship wouldn't last. I could tell he was emotionally overwhelmed. He insisted that we weren't in bad terms. And he said he'd keep sending me pictures of his dog frequently. I told him not to. Yeah, no thanks, buddy. I don't want pictures of your dog. I insisted that I didn't want to be friends and to not contact me in order for me to move on. He seemed genuinely sad and upset that I didn't want to stay in touch. Yeah, no thanks. I don't want to hear about your dog. I don't want to hear about your mommy. I don't want to see pictures of your mom wearing my bathing suit with your dog. It all ends. Call me if you change your mind. That weekend, I was playing a card game on my phone that he and I used to play together. He accidentally joined my game. She says in parentheses, he really couldn't have joined on purpose. Okay, I'll assume she's right. And I could tell that he was trying to communicate with me using pre-made sentences that our avatars can say. I ignored him. After I won the game, he wrote me on Messenger to congratulate me, but I didn't reply. I know you and Victoria don't advise to ignore an ex, but I felt like he was crossing a boundary after I clearly asked him not to contact me. I might have just said something like, well, look, contact me if you change your mind and you think you can work things out with your mom so we have more privacy. And then you'd have to address it further, but you don't have to do too much in a message like that. The following day, he texted me, all I do is think about you. I didn't know what to say. I know the breakup must be hard for him too. I don't doubt that he still loves me, but that he can't see clearly right now with everything going on in his life. Well, I think the guilt is clouding his judgment. He feels really bad about what mom is going through, and also he's probably really missing his dad. I replied, I thought about him too a few hours later. Then he asked me if he had done a mistake. I said I didn't know, that I couldn't answer that for him. He didn't write back, and I haven't heard from him as of today. Mind you, it was only a day later. I won't lie, I'd love to have him back, but I know it won't work out unless he sets boundaries with his invasive and probably manipulative mother. Yes, I would say she's definitely both. It seems almost impossible to me that he'd be willing to do so. Well, at this point, he doesn't even think that it's a problem. So until he thinks that it's a problem, he's not going to do anything. But on top of that, it's probably going to be a while because mommy hasn't even moved in yet. Now, I feel bad for mom. She lost her husband. He went through an illness for a few years. So I know it's hard. But at the same time, she can't just take over his life and wear his girlfriend's bathing suits without asking. He feels it's his responsibility to look after her since the husband's passing. Moreover, he actually needs her to move in order to continue to be able to afford his house and his truck and his other secondary house. It's like a vacation house. Okay. Now, why does he need mom's financial help all of a sudden? That's odd. Not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if he contacted me again really soon. And honestly, I don't know how to handle the situation. I haven't really been in no contact because he wrote me the other day after the breakup and the day after too. I don't think he's had enough time to process everything. And I don't want to entertain him. What should I do? Well, I don't think he's had time to process anything at this point. I think he's overwhelmed. I think he's sad. I think he's feeling guilty. I think he's feeling like he's got to take care of mom. And, it's understandable that he does that somewhat. We want to take care of our family and the people that we love. But he's also got to set boundaries. The problem is he doesn't see that mom's a problem at all yet. And until he does and is willing to set some boundaries and say, these are the things you can't cross, these are the things you're going to have to respect in my life, she's going to run his life. So this is a situation I'd stay away from for now. Personally, I think you have to set a hard boundary with him right now and say, look, I know you're going through a hard time, but you've got to get things figured out with your mom first. Process it, think about it, and if you see the points that I'm trying to make and you're willing to do something about it, contact me and we can go from there. There's no reason to contact this guy. I know you care about him and you're confused, but he really needs to feel the loss of you. Right now, mom and you are in a tug of war and she's the Incredible Hulk and you look like Captain America before the serum, okay? She's gonna dominate this, okay? You have no chance against mom right now. And the best thing that you can do is leave him alone so he really sees what it's like to lose you. If he feels that pain that can be the serum that you need to get stronger, to at least have a chance against the Incredible Hulk here. Because he needs to know that he's lost somebody that loves him, and he doesn't want to lose you. That he can make a situation work where he has a mom and a girlfriend, and he can balance it. But until you leave him alone and he really feels the loss of you, there's no balance here. It's a complete mismatch. So leave him alone, let him come to terms with what mom is doing here, and let him see that it's a problem. When he does, and he'll likely need some time here to get to that place, I don't think it's happening anytime soon, then you can see if you can have a healthier situation where you can get your needs met, and he'll make the relationship a priority and not just mom. Okay? So, tough situation. You gotta have empathy for him and mom, because obviously they both lost somebody that they really love and care about. But this is completely unmeshed and unhealthy, and it's not gonna work for you right now. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get my help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Get my workbooks or the Creative Healing course on my website. They'll help change your life. Do them 30 minutes a day. That's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.